Well, welcome Palace fans from across the globe to a special edition of the Red and Blue Review podcast as we look back on both yesterday's win against rivals Brighton and the midweek share of the points on the South Coast away at now relegated Southampton. Crystal Palace are unbeaten in 7, having won 6 of those matches and have lost just twice in their last 17 games. Since we were last on air, we now know when we'll be playing our FA Cup semi-final against Aston Villa. We'll have all the usual features of Loan Watch and other teams, plus predictions as we enter the business end of the season. Do please like and share our content across social media, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're new to watching the pod. Joining me this evening is Nick Philpott. Nick Philpott, who's usually in this hot seat, one of the founders of our podcast, of course. Nick, good evening. How are you, my friend?
Hello, mate. Not too bad. If Carlsberg did 7 days in football, not bad for us, and 7 days in football, not too good for our friends, is it? Eh?
Absolutely. It wasn't. It was a nightmare for them and brilliant for us. And Nick's partner in crime, of course, Lord Jel Paul. Hello, Jel. You all right, mate?
Lord, hello, mate. Yeah. Good. Hope you're all right, everyone.
I'm sure we are. Plenty of people joining us in the chat, and we'll come to that in a minute. And making up this heavyweight panel this evening, none other than Paul Gear, aka the real panel. Evening, Paul.
Evening, guys. Evening, everyone watching. Hope you've all had a good weekend, revelling in yesterday's result.
Listen, guys, there's absolutely no shortage of stuff to talk about on tonight's show. Jel will be looking after the chat, so please do comment, and we'll try and involve as many people as possible throughout the evening. Listen, we'll come to yesterday's events at Selhurst shortly, but let's get straight to what happened away at Southampton. It was an all too brief revisit to the Premier League for the Saints, but having lost their previous 5 home games and Palace having won their previous 5 away games, there could only, of course, be one outcome. Paul Gear, you were with me in the away end. How nice are Saints fans, by the way, Paul? Did you find that on the other night?
Yeah, they're not too bad. I mean, let's be honest, they've had a tough season. They've endured a lot. They probably resigned themselves to relegation probably in Christmas, if not before. So, yeah, they were fairly jovial, and there was obviously no issues the other night. They're just happy to watch football before they get back to their proper stuff next season, really.
That's right. And I was in a pub beforehand, and a couple of them wanted to shake my hand and congratulate us on being in the semi-final, which I felt was quite bizarre. And then another guy around the ground did the same. And they did make me laugh because they were singing "How shit must you be? We're winning at home," which was quite funny. Anyway, we'll come to that in a sec. Let's have a look at the lineup. Let's get the lineup, Nigel, if we can. There was a first Premier League start for Nathaniel Clyne since the home defeat to Fulham back in November, replacing the injured Chris Richards. And other than that, Paul, we were unchanged, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that's pretty much probably our strongest team, isn't it? Without Hughes, obviously, we know Hughes was banned, so we knew he wasn't going to play. But yeah, once Richards was announced in the conference he wasn't going to play, that was probably the strongest team we were going to line up with.
Okay, so let's have a brief look at this. Take us through the key moments then, Paul. If
you so I'll flick through the game quickly because we've got better things to talk about. Obviously, game started. We started really well on the front foot, went straight on the attack. Mateta dragged the ball around on a turn, took the ball really well, and we were right behind this shot, Ian, wasn't he? So he just drove forward and then from 25 yards hit a beautiful shot, looped over Ramsdale, and unfortunately Cannon back off the bar. So would have been a really great start. But I think unfortunately that probably made us a bit complacent, to be honest, because once that happened, we really, our first half was very sloppy. We were giving the ball away, bad passing. And complacency was. I was thinking, as you said, with the results for them and us, I think we all probably went down there pretty much expecting a win.
Yeah.
And that gave Southampton confidence. They were playing some nice stuff. To be fair, some good stuff. I mean, again, there's no pressure on them, so they can do that. Which culminated in them having a nice little move down their right. Played a few little nice passes. Goal crossed it into their big giant 6'8" striker or whatever he is. Very good header from 12 yards. Dean did well to get down and get a hand on it. Couldn't keep it out though. And yeah, fair play to him. Was a very good goal. So
let me come to Jel for a second. Jel, before we get to the goal, if that Mateta strike goes in, is it a whole different game? Do you think?
Well, I think it is. I mean, obviously, the fans will get straight on their back after whether it was a couple of minutes, and our demeanour changes. But as Paul alluded to already, I think we just settled into it was a very performance really.
Someone said to me a bit after the Lord Mayor's show, after the Fulham game, you could argue a bit like that.
Well, that's what we do. Lord Mayor's show, nonplussed, Lord Mayor's show.
There we go. Paul's just talked about the goal, Nick. Do you think Dean Henderson should have done better?
I thought at the time, my opinion was that he should have done. I mean, but listen, that guy's kept us in so many games right the way through the year. Yeah, look at the double save yesterday, which we'll come on to later on. He owes us nothing, and he gets us. I don't care what he does at the moment. He gets us massively. The same as Lacroix, the same as Munoz. They all get it. I couldn't care less about that game.
Okay, glad you're not doing it. Paul, your thoughts on that? Should he have done better? I mean, he got down well.
I don't think. I think he did well to get down to it. To be honest, I mean, as I say, it's come back across goal. It's gone back across the way, so he'd have been going across that way to go to the head, and then he's come back down. He's got right on the ball's bounced on the goal line, basically, so he's got to get his load. I wouldn't have any issues with him.
Okay. Okay, so they won their lot of 20 minutes.
But they're one ahead, and I think they go into their shell a bit at that point because obviously they haven't had a lead, as their fans were telling us, for a long time. So they probably did. It's human nature in it to sort of stick back a bit. So we got more into it. Slowly started playing a little bit better, and then Mateta had another good shot, the ball in the box, and he controlled it well, and on the turn swiveled. I thought it was in, I must admit, but Ramsdale made a very good save. He got down. Strong hand, kept it out.
Pretty close to him, though, wasn't it? I think if it either side of him, it's in.
Yeah, but again, it was similar, as I say, to their goal in that he was going the other way, so he had to shift his weight back and dive back and say. Whereas his hand was stronger than Dean's was basically, but it was a very good save. And then the half just played out at that point, and there was one chance there, another one. Gay tried to play a ball across the box, and I think Lacroix, it was either too far in front of him or just wasn't ready for it. And their guy had a shot and put it wide. So so they went in half time, 1 up, probably deserving of the lead, to be honest.
Okay. Let me bring Jel in, if I may. I think it was.
I think you're doing him a slight disservice. I think that was a worldie of a save. Absolutely nailed that, spun, nailed it, and the strongest hand. I thought that was a worldie. Had it been the other way around, had Henderson been saving that, we would have been using the term worldie. I thought that was underestimating his by just saying it was a good save. That was a cracking save because, as Paul said as well, he was going the other way first and then had to readjust, get down, but not just stop it, palm it away, stop it, grab it. Just
what we're talking about the goalkeepers. Palace fans were singing England's number one, and so were Southampton fans, which was sort of quite ironic because he's nowhere near the number one, Ramsdale. So Palace fans were responding with England's number 4 or England number 5 or something, wasn't it? It was just vaguely amusing. But they were rubbish really. Carry on, Paul. I'm taking off.
So second half started, and again we were probably the more attack-minded of the teams. Again, like I say, Saints were sitting back, and it was quite evident, quite clearly on. They were sort of playing for time, and they were time wasting whenever they got a chance. People going down every 2 minutes, stuff like that. It was quite clear they we're going to desperately try and hang on to what they had. And as I say, we were the only really attacking force in the second half. I mean, there was one where Sarr burst through. Went down in the box. I think he looked at a lot of the players, looked at the ref, and they obviously checked it on VAR, but it wasn't given. So obviously haven't seen that back. But it looked at the time like it was a good shout, but obviously wasn't. He then had another drive through the middle when he got the ball and played it out wide to Eze, who really should have done better there. He panicked a bit, I think, and he dragged his shot wide when you got to hit the target at that point. And when you're trying to get back in the game, it was a poor effort. But as I say, the game was going nowhere really. We weren't doing too much, and then so we made some changes. And obviously, the main one, Mateus França came on for his first Premier League appearance in a year. Obviously, he came on at Doncaster for a couple of minutes, but he's been on the bench obviously, and it's good to see him hopefully being able to now play for us rather than just being on the treatment table. And obviously, we get to the 91st minute. I think it was 8 minutes he held up. They got to their stoppage time. 8 minutes he held up, which was probably even a little bit generous to Southampton because, like I say, some of their time wasting was pretty appalling. So ball went out to our left hand side. Lerma crosses it back in, and França gets a really good header.
Right,
in the bottom corner is a very well placed header. A great goal, and obviously the away end went nuts because we didn't want to lose to them. And it's great to see him get his first goal after all the rehab he's been going through, and it's nice to see the players celebrating with him like that. They're obviously delighted for him, but I thought it was calmer for Southampton because even if we didn't deserve to get an equaliser, they certainly deserved to concede an equaliser in stoppage time of all time, because it was all that time was because of their play. And we grabbed the ball, and it's like, well, come on, they're going to crumble because they always do when they concede, and we really nearly stole it at the end when another attack, and Eddie hit a first-time shot which just went over the bar. So, yeah, it ended up 1-1. At the end of the day, as you say, it's another 10th unbeaten league game in a row, so the record is extending all the time. I mean, it is probably a disappointing result, but if you take it in the context of the week, 4 points out of those two games is probably not so bad, and a Wembley appearance. You got to go for it. And obviously, Southampton are relegated today, so it's.
We won't be going there next season, that's for sure. Which is a shame because I do like going down there.
It's a good one, yeah.
Away day, Nick.
Yeah, just a quick point at the end of that game. Of course, I was talking about the togetherness of the squad. It would have been great to see what they did. The players did to França, pushed him forward to accept the applause and the adulation of the travelling fans. And by the way, credit to you lot as well. You sounded great on the radio on the TV, so well done.
Yeah, someone said that in chat. I think that the fans were magnificent, and they moved us this year, didn't they, Paul? So from previously, do you want to just?
Yeah, well, we used to be behind the goal at the other end, and our section spread around literally to behind the goal. And there's a big thing in football these days about giving away clubs an advantage. And if you're shooting towards your own fans in the second half or whatever, it can help. And so a lot of grounds are trying to avoid that now. So yeah, they put us at the other end, around in the corner, around this side, so that in theory it's supposed to help them and not so well. It's not helped them this year clearly, but just on that note, I keep reading that in 2 seasons' time Brighton will be moving away fans to the side of the pitch as well, because they're fed up with having away fans sucking the ball into the net. But so that was how we were in the other corner. So it was an interesting, different perspective on the game.
Yeah, hopefully they won't be in the Premier League by then anyway.
No, we'll see. Teresa says that chant, and it was living in my head the following day, the samba chant. You know, when the samba music starts to play, dance with me, make me sway. I'm not going to sing it. And then Keith Parker also says, and say hello to Millwall. That was quite funny, wasn't it? Say hello to Millwall all the way. That got quite loud at one point. That was good. Jel, what we got else in the chat?
Just quickly going on to chants. Bella Ciao is getting quite well known at Palace now. A few other fans cracking on to that. But yeah, if we'll just start at the beginning and just go through, because there are a fair few people in. Obviously, Tom Samuels, William Jones, Joan Wells, Rob Cranfield, Lee Lockwood, Keith Parker, our own Teresa Baker, Paul Bristow probably from a train somewhere, Phillips on David, Charlie Byrne, Daniel Garlick, Tony Nichols, Martin Harvey, John Kerr, Tim Richards, our own Tim Richards, James Convey. It's a guy called Damien Aldous. Are you related to a fella called Timothy Aldous? So it's a very unusual surname. I used to go to school with a fella called Tim. Ian, James Appley, Pete Bradley, Leon S. And from Congleton in Cheshire, Miko Curran, John Knox, Don Palace, Phil Bell, Richard Thomas, Damo 1168 grand, Kitcher. And last one I'll go is Keith Diamond, amongst a load more people, but keep the comments coming in.
What a lovely group of people as well. Good to have you with us tonight. Now, at the beginning of last week's podcast, we had a special guest on from the first Crystal Palace Scouts. And they told us about an appeal they were having to raise money for a trip, I think it was to the Gambia, if I got that right, to help vulnerable and less fortunate people out there in Africa. And they had a bucket collection at Sellers Park yesterday. You could also have donated via the QR code. Jel, I think we got an update on how much they raised yesterday.
Devastated as a hope.
Yes, Andy sent a message into us and said that the bucket collection raised £1,250. That's the equivalent of 117,000 Gambian Dalatai, which sounds like an awful lot of money. With some places in West Africa, then I'm sure that money, the 1,250, will go a real long way. It's going to be used. It's not going to be used for the scouts. That's all paid for, reassured us. If you were listening last week. So this money is going to be used for, for local people, on local people out in the Gambia. But what we've done here, I think we've got a QR code. You can still donate to this great cause. Like I say, they are the first Crystal Palace Scout group. So if they're not, they're just affiliated by area and name to our football club. But yeah, any help would be absolutely amazing. Any more help, and it would, it really does. It really does make a difference. Having done a lot of stuff out in West Africa myself, it really does make a difference. So any more, 5 or 10 or whatever, if we can all manage to do that, or a lot of us can manage to do that, it really does make a difference.
Yeah, thanks, Jel, very much indeed. Yeah, so the QR code was there. There was a link up earlier that Nigel put along the bottom, and I'm sure he'll put it back again in a little while. There it is. So if you haven't donated and you'd like to, please feel free to do so. That would be fantastic. Now then, turning back to yesterday, Saturday, 3 p.m. for the visit of Brighton. 3 points and 3 goals in the away game back in December. Brighton had crashed out of the FA Cup after losing on penalties to Forest. They've been humbled by Villa 3-0 in the week. The starting 11 saw a return for Daichi Kamada. We got that there, Nigel, in the midfield, with Lerma dropping into the back three at the expense of Kleiny. Chris Richards was still not ready. So that was the starting 11. Any surprises there for us, Nick, do you think?
Yeah, I was going to. Funny enough, I was going to ask the question. Yes, there was. In actual fact, Daichi Kamada, the boys and Hughes not starting. Bearing in mind the type of game that it was likely to be, and turned out to be the case. Paul, are you surprised that he played Kamada over Hughes? And by the way, before you answer, I have to tell you, I thought Kamada had his best game in the famous red and blue yesterday.
Yeah, it's fair to say that he played well. He justified his place. He did do well. But yeah, I was surprised. I mean, my only assumption was that Hughes was obviously not fully over his sickness or not fully ready to play, because you said, but the game was going to be a battle. It was perfect for him to play, but ultimately he hadn't played since the Millwall game because he obviously was suspended against Ipswich. He then missed the Fulham game. So with not playing for 4 weeks and with probably not a 4 weeks training, I think that's probably the reason.
Okay. Before I get into the game, boys, if assuming that's where you want me to go, Ian.
Yeah, carry on, Nick.
A couple of observations before the game. I don't know if any of you realised it, Joe. I don't know if you saw it on the TV at all, but the new PA system. My good God! I mean, there you go. There was half a dozen of those things hanging off the roof, literally swaying in the wind at Sellers Park yesterday, and they were over that. That's over the Homestyle. And again, I don't know if you boys, you other two noticed it. In the other stands, you also had brand new speaker system right the way around the stadium. And when the players came out to Glad All Over, I've never heard it like that before. You could barely hear the crowd because of the noise on the PA system. It was massive. And so they've obviously invested heavily on a new sound system, and I think they're to be applauded for it because it's long overdue. Many times people have said on the show that people can't hear anything at the back of the stand. If there's an announcement or a VAN. Go on, Paul.
It's the opposite. I've heard the same. The Homestyle people say they can't hear it, but us in the main stand, Ian, it's always been too loud anyway, so it was even worse.
I would say it was probably too loud yesterday.
Oh, here we go.
Listen, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the game.
Hold on a minute. I haven't finished yet, and there's no pleasing some people.
There's no ranting today from you, mate. I'm in charge.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the other thing I don't know, those of you that are less observant, did you see the new graphics on the electronic screens all the way around the stadium? I thought they looked much better than the old style that we had. It was just something I thought to myself, blimey, Palace are trying to move on. Anyway, on to the game. So we've done the lineup.
I think Jel wants to come in before you go into the game. Jel,
just saying that we're 3 quarters of the way through the season and spending what looks like a chunk of cash, but I suppose that's the money that an FA Cup run brings. I don't know whether we get paid up at the end of the season or whether we're spending money that we know is coming. But, goodness knows what's going to go on next if we can get through to the final. It's £500,000, isn't it, to get through?
It's in Premier League terms, it's not a lot of money, the FA Cup.
The cynics standing around.
I want to drop it.
the cynics standing around me were saying it's because it's the end of the financial year. To start the new financial year, they start to spend some money. Anyway, so an early move by Waltons. They saw Mateta put a shot wide and behind the goal. Now, again, boys, I'm asking you, those of you in the ground, did you hear the cheer go up when we scored? Because that's what they did. From where we were, we saw the net rattle. We didn't realise he'd missed his shot. The stand went up as though we'd actually scored the goal. Did you get it from your side of it as well?
I'm shaking my head. He's nodding his head.
I thought he'd gone in.
And Jel?
Yeah, I mean, it's close, I mean, yeah, often you get that, don't you, with side netting? If the angle's not right, it looks like it's a goal. Yeah.
Well, I think what happened is it hit the side netting, hit the signage behind, and then went sideways. So it looked like it had gone in the bottom corner and then gone across
and rolled along.
Yeah, and that's why. But there was an audible, probably 5,000 people gone mad, and then whatever it was, 800 of them going.
What made me laugh was I listened to the commentary back on whoever was covering the game on the Palace app today, and they said it had gone in as well. Opening goal for Palace. And so everybody was getting it completely wrong. Okay, so the flag had gone up anyway. JP was offside. It strayed offside, so it was irrelevant whether he put it in the back of the net. So, but on the 3rd minute, pandemonium strikes. Okay, it was driving run by Geehee down the left, a ball inside to Ebbs. A quick ball straight through to JP. Good, quick thinking by Ebbs. Ball through to JP. And a glorious shot into the top right-hand corner of the Bergen's goal. The place went mental. What did it look like from your angle, boys?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was. I was really pleased, obviously, for the goal and all that. But I've said for the last couple of games, I'm not sure how comfortable it can be for JP to be playing with that ear mask and that strapping on. So I think it's really good that he's got his first goal since that injury. I think that's going to do him wonders. And yeah, I mean, it was a great strike from tight. He got it on the edge of the box, and the minute he left his foot, the keeper was never getting top corner. It was a beautiful goal.
In?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that he got the goal yesterday to give him the confidence and everyone else around him the confidence that he can still do it. Because I wasn't sure whether he could or not. I have my doubts. I keep thinking about that Fulham player when he was at Wolves, Jimenez. He had a similar type of injury, and he wasn't the same for ages before he could find his goal-scoring touch again. So I thought, I don't want this for Jean-Philippe Mateta, but he was fantastic. And really, the writing was on the wall after the Southampton game, which we've already said. He had a good strike there that was unlucky not to score down at Southampton. But it was on his other foot this time. It was on his left foot. And he really did let rip. And it was a brilliant goal. Really good. What about Mark Gay's run? What do you think about that, Nick? I mean, should a centre-back be doing that 3 minutes into the game?
And I made a note of that from my notes, actually. I thought it was what more impressed me is the way he actually managed to hold on to the ball. There was multiple challenges around him, and he held the ball and then played it through. I thought he did it really well. One little observation on the Mateta thing, if you don't mind. I thought about Mateta's goal was obviously a ground strike. The one at Southampton was a ground strike. I didn't see him purposefully challenging for many balls with his head yesterday. I don't know if anybody else picks up on that.
Well, I didn't think he was always very good in the air anyway, if I'm honest. I think for a big guy, he before the injury, he lost too many aerial duels for me. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think yesterday the plan probably, to be honest, was not to put the ball in the air because obviously they got Dunk and Van Hecker, a big two giant centre-backs anyway, so we probably weren't trying to put it up in the air anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's human nature. He's not going to be able to go full pelt, I wouldn't have thought, with that mask on at this point. But yeah, I don't know how long he's got to wear that for. It'll be interesting to see whether it's the rest of the season or beyond. But hopefully he'll be off him soon and he'll be free from it. But yeah, there wasn't many balls for him to win in the air, to be honest, I didn't think.
Okay, let's bring Jel in.
Couple of points on there. I don't think it bothers him, to be honest with you. I don't think he's had it on for weeks now. They said we thought that he was only back he was back really, really soon, having to wear the protection at training. The ball's not going to be not played to him in the air just because he's got a bad ear. And I think yesterday that was a deliberate ploy to not put, because you know what Lewis Dunk's like. He literally can't help himself. He would headbutt concrete walls so that we didn't win. That's my favourite part about yesterday, knowing that he is going home with the raging He would. It would mess up the rest of his weekend and the rest of the next week, knowing that Lewis Dunk is going home. His cat must crap itself every time they lose to us. But yeah, and then Van Hecker, fall on the floor, Van Hecker. I need to say something. I won't do it now, but we need to talk about Van Hecker.
We'll do that later on if you don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It's interesting that Paul mentioned that we purposely didn't put the ball up in the air very much because of Tessa's headwear. We could have gone 2-0 up from the biggest Route 1 that we've seen at Sellers Park for many a generation. A long kick upfield from Henderson up to Ebbs. Ebbs took it inside the box, shot, and it was just wide.
I think it was saved, Nick. I think he saved it.
He did.
Yeah, it was on target.
He touched it, yeah.
And what did you think? The touch out of the sky was unbelievable, wasn't it? When he took it down.
And they mentioned that on Match of the Day as well. I thought, and it was interesting. Somebody just said in the chat that the England manager was at the game yesterday looking at Geehee and Walton. Well, I hope he wasn't looking at Geehee because obviously he saw red at some point. So I hope he was looking at him. Okay, so it was proper Route 1 stuff. Then a fantastic double save from Hendo. And I don't know who was actually nominated man in the match yesterday. So I'm going to give you mine right from the off. And I'm going to say Dean Henderson.
Yeah, you're right. It was Dean Henderson.
Was it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Believer and a follow-up from Welbeck. A great double strike. And either one of those could have got in. Ian, good saves.
Absolutely outstanding saves, yeah. And he had to react really quickly for the second one to get back on his feet. It's sort of at him, but he's still got to get in the way. So he did very, very well.
Yeah, and interesting that Paul mentioned the long ball, and then Jel mentioned what's his name, Van Hecker. Okay, and the first booking of the game is Van Hecker tripping Ismail Assar. Anybody thinks that this was a natural segue, Jel? Okay, over to you, mate.
I'm not going to go on to Van Hecker yet about him being whatever. But I just want to go back to Theresa Baker has turned around and said, with her vast experience, NHS experience of being a nurse, she said about Mateta's injury and why he's wearing what he's wearing. She said the sutures won't be in for more than 3 weeks. It's protecting the newly formed scar tissue. So there you have it from a professional point of view. And so can I talk about Van Hecker? Okay, so I've caught fish, right, that when you lift them out of the water and then they go back down and then they flip back up. Did you see him when he got kicked in the first half? He laid down on the floor and then he bounced up like a flapping fish and went down. And then when he realised, I don't think that whoever done him got, and I'll say done him, whoever blew on him, right, didn't get a yellow card, so it couldn't have been that bad. I thought, even his kick in the face for Eddie's second yellow. If he'd have had a kick in the face, we all know about it. A few weeks before, Mateta gets 25 stitches. What did he get? He got nothing. As soon as the second yellow was issued, he was bouncing back up, running about like there was literally that guy. I'm going to say it. I don't care because assume he ain't worth shit. He's a cheat. It's cheating at its best, and we have to do this. I mean, literally every time we mention him, we just should say Van Hecker falling down because he is dreadful, literally dreadful, worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We'll come to it, I'm sure, later. But when he went down for the Nketiah's second yellow, he held his head and he didn't actually touch his head.
Exactly.
Oh, crazy. Anyway, let's come back to where we should be in the game. So Van Hecker's on a yellow card.
Yeah,
that's the Saar bit. Yep.
Yeah, that's a foul on the Saar. Okay. Both sides sort of cancelled each other out. Brighton, I feel, were probably in the ascendancy at that point, okay? And you could feel that something was going to happen. And sure enough, on the 31st minute, an O'Reilly cross from the right found Welbeck, who's scored with an outstretched right leg. Now, I've got a question for you, gentlemen, and there it is right there. I didn't know Nigel was going to put that shot up. Goal side? Should Daniel have been goal side of that?
Yeah, he was behind him, wasn't he? And it was him actually that was caught out for the Southampton goal. It wasn't Klein. Klein was in front, so it was Munoz on both occasions. I had a question pre-show, which I'm going to ask now, guys, to you first, Nick, and then the other two. Both the goals against us in this last week have come from our left-hand side. A coincidence? Have we got a weakness there? Or am I just reading too much into it?
You raised a really interesting point, and I didn't know you were going to ask that. Okay, now, I've enjoyed the last 24 hours, obviously, more so because I've spent probably too much of my Saturday night and Sunday afternoon on North Stand chat. Okay, just watching them cry and be really deflated. Now they are saying, but they were saying something very similar. Why are we conceding down our right? Okay, and they were saying exactly the same as you just said, but for our goals. And it's maybe they were saying on there last night that maybe Palace had seen a weakness down their right. Okay, and hence why most of the play went down our left. And you may have highlighted something else. Who's in front of Munoz?
There was no one on that occasion, but on Wednesday rather, it was Klein. But Paul, come in.
Yeah, I mean the crosses both came in from the left. I know people have issues with Mitchell, but he's a wing back now, so he's going to be caught slightly ahead of a left back position. So I got no problem with that thing. I think both goals were from players who would have been Chris Richards' man. On both goals, and Munoz as a right wing back, it probably wasn't Danny Wilbert, probably wasn't his. He shouldn't be covering that side. That would have been your third centre, but or your back stick centre backs bowl, both of them. And I think also you're having players there who aren't regulars there, and they probably just weren't with the system.
And Dawn says it. Rob Cranfield says it. Missing Richards, and I think you're right, guys. I think we have missed him. More than we ever thought we would, actually. Yeah, Jel.
But the thing is, so desire in football is it will get you a long way, and the desire for Danny Welbeck to get in front of Munoz. Munoz is waiting, and the centre forward didn't. It's as simple as that, which is why he got that extra foot in front, which literally did get his foot in front of him, enabled him to get in front and sew it in. No chance. I mean, look, the thing is, that is about as perfect as you can get. It was a good goal, no matter what way you look at it. It was a really well worked goal. I think that O'Reilly terrorised us down the right hand side. And if you look as well, they overload. Usually we get overloaded down our left side. They overloaded the right hand side yesterday. You had Hinchelwood out there, you had O'Reilly out there. Can't remember I think there was 4 that they were really trying to attack down our right hand side, because I think what they were trying to do was force Ebbs backwards to try and cover. When he's backwards, no one did. There's no threat, is there? That's the thing. You've only got Sarr. They doubled up on him yesterday, kicked him at every single opportunity, fouled him 5 times yesterday in the first half. Ridiculous. Nothing. Referee just let everything go. So.
Yeah, sure. Let's listen to Teresa. She knows best. She says, let's forget their goal. Let's get to the joyful bits. Okay,
well, I will do. But again, segue as well. Jel, you just mentioned he let everything go. There was only one booking in the first half. And for the mayhem that was to follow, okay, I thought that was, we were actually saying in the stand, he was probably a bit too lenient in the first half of the money. And I'm no fan of Taylor, but he was. So early in the second half, Matona and Lacroix had that nasty coming together. Now, boys, one of you pre-show had a thought on that, and you thought it is potentially more serious than it actually was. Who was that? One of you was talking about it.
I'm not sure. Wasn't me, I don't think.
Was that should that have been a booking? I mean, that was my question. Should that have been a booking?
Could have been.
No,
Liverpool player, yeah.
I think they both fouled each other, to be honest. I know we got the free kick, but if it had been the other way around, whoever came out of that as the offensive player would have been aggrieved, because I think they could have both justifiably had a free kick for that.
Yeah, and obviously it went to us. But that collision, of course, then contributed to the 12 minutes of added time that obviously we're going to be coming on to later. The second goal was started by the much criticised Daichi Kamada, who swung the ball out to Ebbs who was obviously playing in the 10 role, who's balled straight out of Munoz. Okay, it took a slightly diverted finish and nestled slightly in the bottom right hand corner of Verbruggen's goal. I thought he took the goal well. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the angle again to see whether that would have gone in anyway, even though it brushed the back of whichever defender's back. Any ideas? Would that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nick, if you look at the still there, you're looking at it on the screen. You got, for those of you listening, Bunel's just about to take a strike. It says Stupinan. I think it strikes his back, and it just diverts the ball slightly. It was on target anyway. The keeper might well have saved it if it hadn't have hit the Brighton player on the way in. This is my take on it.
Well, my take on it, yeah.
Go on, Joe.
It hits his backside and puts an incredible amount of spin on it. You actually saw as it is his backside, the ball's travelling towards him, and it's just moving, but it's not spinning. It's his backside starts spinning, and then it puts a vicious curl on it. But you can see where the goalkeeper, I'm not going to say he had it covered, but he definitely would have got hands on it. But then it's taken it a metre and a half away from him, giving him, thankfully, no chance.
Well, it was at this point Anthony Taylor forgot that it had been Mother's Day the previous Sunday because he started issuing the cards willy-nilly, and off he went. Geehy then fouls Von Becker for his first yellow card, and I think that was a fair decision. I'm going to argue with that. Then probably the biggest talking point of the game was Nketiah's alleged dive for a possible foul that was in the box. There was definite contact, gentlemen. And those of you are, I'm sorry, if that ain't contact, what is? Boys, over to you. Discuss.
Paul, have you got your views on this?
Yeah, I mean, as you can see from that picture, there's contact in that. It wasn't enough to knock him over, and he went forward a stride and then dived. They've got to work out what they want from this rule. I mean, we were discussing pre-show. Everton got a penalty for probably less contact than that. It was ridiculous. But yeah, he's run past him, and yeah, he's clipped him. But as I say, I don't think it was enough to bring him down, and I think he did try and win the penalty with the simulation. So it's whether they need to say you can't get booked if there was contact, but we're not going to give you a penalty. That's fine. But you could argue it's unlucky because of contact, but you could also say, as I said to Ian before the show, if he was running through centre of goal and he was about to take a shot, I don't think he'd have fallen over at that point. He could have quite easily stayed up and done it. So I think I can't argue too much with that booking, really. If it'd been a Brighton player against us, I'd have wanted him booked.
Okay. Jel, what's your view on this?
Look, players are told, if you feel contact, go down. He felt the contact, he went down. He went down in stages, but it's completely irrelevant. Anthony Taylor they should have turned around and said, there should have been a penalty check, a VAR penalty check. It was, for me, I'm not just.
But why wasn't there? This is going to be my next question.
This is what I was saying. I couldn't believe when he got the card, and that was it. The commentators didn't even mention it, and I was like, well, you can quite clearly see it.
Okay, so, Paul, I think you're in the minority. Most people in the chat are saying it was a penalty. Contact, it's a pen. Even Match of the Day thought it was harsh that he got booked and there was contact there. Gel's got a very valid point here. VAR is there to check for clear and obvious errors that the referee has. Is the issue here that it wasn't clear and obvious, Paul? Is that what the problem is?
It would have been looked at. Any penalty decision is looked at. So they might not publicise it on the commentary or whatever, but they would have looked at it. And if you probably look at the Twitter site where they put all their decisions out, it's probably on there. So it would have been looked at. Whether they decided, you'd say that's the get out at the moment. Oh, it wasn't a big enough mistake for us to change, but it would have been looked at. And like I say, it was. They obviously decided similar to what I thought it was. But it's as you say, Gel's right. They are players are told to go down if they feel contact, but it's.
What are we saying? Are we saying that
we wouldn't like if it was
he's got to do better standing on his feet, or he needs to go down in a better way to?
And that's the point. Jel, I am going to come to you in a second. Ian, that's the point. He was criticised about it on Match of the Day that he took that extra one. Had he gone down straight away, it's a clear penalty. And the trouble was he ran on one extra step, okay, and then went down and looks as though he dived, okay. So I think that's the point. He went down, and Jill said it earlier, in stages. Go on, Jill.
Well, I mean, let's go to the chat about this because it does seem to have split opinion. There's a lot of people saying it was Richard Young said it was a penalty. Lee Lockwood said he was clipped for sure. John Knox said that's a penalty. Teresa says problem is Eddie looking down to see the contact. Phillips from David said wasn't a yellow or a penalty. And then Phil Bell said there was contact. It's a pen. Stephen Simmons said, or Simon said, should Palace appeal against the red card? What one? I don't think you've got any kind of, if you lose those, they get increased. So we can't afford to be losing players for more than one game. And it is only one game. Paul Hogan, definitely a penalty. I think the bigger clubs kind of get these decisions. So, and then Dawn Palace said, why didn't it go to VAR, which is what we've turned around and said. Tim Richards said, and again, VAR pointless, like Brighton. Teresa said, again, even Match of the Day agreed with us, which is completely rare.
Never happens.
Yeah. So, and there's one thing we'll just go on to just quickly. I'm going to digress because Ian Lyons has come on, our own Ian Lyons, and he said it's about time Daichi Kamada was given some credit. He played well yesterday. Well, had he been here earlier? I know. That's what I said. Had he been here earlier on time, that's what we did.
Guys, Jel, we'll come to Kamada in a sec. Let me bring Paul in because he's been waiting very patiently for ages. He looks like he's doing the Cub salute there.
It's the way to get it's his way to get known. No, Paul Bristow's put contact is not a foul, and this is the problem. I don't think Match of the Day said we should have had a penalty. I think they said he shouldn't have been booked. So
yeah, it was a harsh booking.
It's a slightly different thing. They've got a higher bar for penalties this year, and okay, the bigger clubs might not be getting that higher bar and still getting generous ones, but as I say, it's if that had been given as a penalty against us, I would have been pretty fuming.
I mean, I didn't see Fulham Liverpool this afternoon, but if that's Liverpool, if that's Salah, does he get a penalty?
Yeah, and that's where it's wrong.
All day long, every day of the week, and twice on Sundays. Of course, he would have done. Okay, so we're now approaching the last quarter of an hour of the game, and then the silly season begins. The madness starts. Okay, Nketiah, silly foul on Van Hecker, second yellow card. Okay, after only being on the pitch for 10 minutes, and down we go. Red card, second bookable offence. Now, Jel, your friend, Mr. Van Hecker, I understand you've got some thoughts on him, and he's not on your Christmas card list.
No, I just thought that he goes down. He's terrible. He's the worst play actor I've ever seen. And like I think Lee said earlier, he was expecting to see blood, but all he saw was a red. But yeah, it just is a disgrace. I thought that a lot of the Brighton players simulate, go down screaming as soon as you get the free kick or whatever. We don't do. I'm not going to say we don't do enough of that, but we do not. We just get up and get on with it. I think we may need to either join in. They've either got to stamp it out or we got to join in with this. We need to be getting in and pushing their players about and doing what Brighton, they were roughing our players up. I mean, like I say, Lewis, no points, dunk. He literally got involved in everything. The three red cards yesterday, look at the steals. He was in the frame for all three of those yesterday. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so Nketiah seems red.
Yeah, and then Guéhi foul on. Is it Gruder? Is his name? Is it Gruder?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter what his name is.
Now, to me, this is the one that really frustrated me. Really, Gruder was a really unnecessary foul. He didn't need to make that challenge. In fact, he had in the shot where he's getting his red card. There's two other Palace players around him as well. Okay, completely idiotic, especially as the England manager was. Who keeps taking these pictures like that? They're wonderful photography. This geezer's got an absolute talent. Whoever keeps taking these photos that are being appear on screen.
Okay, all right, okay, we get it.
Your thoughts on
their next photos, we get it. Carry on.
Guéhi's second yellow card, boys, please. Over to you.
I thought we got lucky. You should have been sent a straight red for that, and they should have a 3-game ban. I thought Anthony Taylor got it wrong.
But why is Mark Gahey, as Nick said, why is Mark Gahey making that challenge in the middle of the park when he's got players around him?
He had a moment.
A yellow card.
He had a moment with 10 men, with coming to the end of the game, we want to win. He doesn't do it. He very rarely does it. He
loses his head, doesn't he?
I don't think so.
Rare moment.
I don't think so. I think he got done technically. He got done by a technically gifted player. He's a very, very good player, Gruder. And, you know, there's 2 or 3 of them that they brought on that are technically, like, you know, as good as Ebbs, if not better. And, you know, and I think that's what he got. You see the ball he saw him coming, flicked it past him. He'd done him. But of course, where he's come through and he's hit him, and you're absolutely right, Paul. On any other day, that literally, VAR did check for a straight red. So how on earth they let that off as well, I don't know. Because to me, being the other way round, we'd have been screaming for a straight red for that.
Segue again. Hold it there. I'm going to move it on because I'm conscious of your time, Ian.
Yes, absolutely. And Paul Bristow, former referee, says Mark Gahey's challenge could easily have been a straight red. Paul, I agree with you. We got a bit lucky there. It's 1 game, not 3. Nick,
the segue this evening is unreal. Okay, because then Van Hecke himself brings down Kamada and gets a second yellow man. Was he the last man? Should that have been a red? Straight red.
Yep. Again,
who's going first?
Again, should have been. I think that both the ref and the VR took the easy option of just going for the second booking on both of them. But yeah, that would have been, if he hadn't been booked, it would have been a red card. But in that instance, it doesn't make too much of a difference because 2 yellows is a 1 game ban, and if he gets sent off for a professional foul, it's a 1 game ban. So
yeah,
no difference. It means nothing. But yeah, it should have been a straight red.
Jel?
No.
Right, so straight into, I was going to get onto this anyway, but Keith Parker talking about segueing straight in. So he's turned around and said he's going to get it out there now. We will miss Mark and Eddie next Saturday, and Maxos went off with a head injury. Now, is it the same as rugby? They took him off for concussion, I'm pretty sure.
They did.
If it's a concussion, does he have to miss a game? Does he have to miss it? He doesn't have to. It's not like rugby then. Not as sensible as rugby.
I'm pretty sure it isn't. I'm pretty sure it isn't. I mean, at the end, he was fine, wasn't he, at the end, Paul?
Yeah, no, I was under the impression I was saying, but if you had concussion, you had to have 7 days off. But it depends. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's still the case. But yeah, I mean, he looked fine. He looked fine at the end, didn't he?
Absolutely. And yes, we will miss Mark Gahey next week against Manchester City. Let's not forget that we played 6 out of the 7 games at the end of last season on that brilliant run without Mark Gahey. Okay.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And the second thing is Eddie Nketiah. Yes, we'll miss him, but he wouldn't have been in the starting 11 anyway. And it gives someone like França another opportunity. So yeah, I'm just relieved that both of them are 1 matches only. But I'm hoping that Maxence Lacroix will be fine. And I'm hoping also that Chris Richards is back. So.
Well, that is the big question. If either of those or both of those are not playing, can França play at the back? Or we're going to dip into the 21s? The 20, what we got, 21s, 23s?
I doubt very much whether we do that. Apart from Kapora, he could get promoted to the bench, of course.
Who's just signed an extension to his contract? I think another 4 years.
He has 4 years. Yeah,
very good news. So we're now in the last 12 minutes of added time, and I'm going to hold here for a second because I want your views on what I'm about to say, gentlemen. I've been going to Selhurst Park for generations. I have to say, at that point, the crescendo within the stands was now building. It was probably up there with some of the best atmosphere I've ever witnessed at Selhurst Park. Anybody got any argument on that?
Not at all. I said to someone this morning, a Brighton fan I was talking to, and I said it was right up there in my top 10 Palace moments of all time. So my top 10.
Wow. Paul?
Yeah, well, they needed to tell me that Glasner was calling for the crowd to go. He was clapping along with us. They needed support. We knew that and everything. And yeah, we tried to drag them over the line, which we did. And finally, Joe, anything on that? Are you on the radio? Could you hear it?
I didn't listen to the radio. I watched it on TV. I watched the game live. No, it was very, very good. Very good atmosphere. Obviously, the mics are more biased to the away supporters because they're right underneath. But so the Brighton fans were quite loud, as you would be if the microphones were right above you. But yeah, I thought it sounded like it was bouncing until they started.
The place was rocking, bud. The place was actually rocking. Right, so last couple of things on my list. Okay, I must mention Dean Henderson again in the added time. A couple of very good saves. Okay, and of course, a word must go out to the fantastic sight of seeing Joel Ward on the pitch at Selhurst Park. Maybe for the last time, we don't know, but a word. He has been the best. How much we paid for him?
400,000 pounds.
And what a servant that man has been for the club. Joel, top up there. Go on, Joel, quickly.
Segue into straight into Paul Bristow. Wardy came on, but did you know Joe Ward has never been on a losing side?
Yeah.
When playing against Brighton. So 13 years he's never lost against Brighton.
Now listen, Oliver Glasner knew that, so he's thinking, I need to get Wardy on the pitch.
Okay, and I'm going to finish up with saying, Nigel just texted me, said, we've got some large numbers watching us this evening on the back of this success. There must be out there at least one Brighton fan. Little message for you. Over to you, Ian.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Nick, so much for doing that. It was tremendous to relive those moments, wasn't it? From yesterday. Indeed, Joe Ward has never been on the losing side against Brighton. It was the first double we've ever done over Brighton since the 1932-33 season. Even Jel doesn't remember that. So, we go back a long, long way. They've done the double over us a few times. Jel, you don't remember that, do you?
Don't.
I'm not the oldest one here.
There we go.
I know, but you can take it. That's great. And did you know also that it was only the third time in the Premier League era that a team with 9 men have held on to win a game from a winning position? Paul?
Yeah, we're the first home team. The other two were away teams.
The other two, do you know who they were?
Leeds and someone else.
Leeds United. On the 21st of August 2001, they won 2-1 away at Arsenal. And the other one was before that. It was on the 15th of October 1994. Manchester City won 2-1 away at QPR. How do I know that? Stato. Jel.
Well, if you're getting Statos, again, Paul Bristow, he really is as Stato. He said that was our first Premier League win with Anthony Taylor as referee since the 1-0 win against Watford 5 years ago.
Blimey, really? Good stat, Paul.
Very good.
It's a new speaker system.
Brilliant. Nigel, do we have any match stats that we can have a quick look at and quick indulge over? So there we go. So we only had 38% possession to Brighton 62. 8 shots to there. What's that say? 9. 3 on target to their 5. Passes completed there more than we did. Free kicks, we have more. Stats don't really matter, do they? Damn lies and statistics.
There's only one that matters, mate.
Crystal Palace 2, Brighton Hove Albion 1.
That one, yeah.
Absolutely. And this is the latest form table. If this had been the first 6 weeks of the season, we would be top of the Premier League. Just get that. And we got 13 points. Is this a good time, Nigel, to come and look at the predictions? I don't know if or do we do this later? We do it later. That's great. Okay, thanks, guys. That was brilliant. I'm going to move us on now because I'm conscious of time to the Loan Watch. Owen Goodman kept another clean sheet for AFC Wimbledon yesterday. They won 1-0 at home to Harrogate Town. And we were talking to quite a few Wimbledon fans on the train on the way back, and they were telling us he's playing rather well at the moment. Joe Whitworth, another keeper out on loan, he let in 2 goals for Exeter, lost at home to Stockport County. His season seems to have had the wheels come off. He was playing much better earlier in the season, keeping clean sheets. Danny Imray has had a really good season with Bromley. He played 79 minutes in a 4-0 win against Accrington Stanley. Jez Raksaki. Say again? Oh, what did you say, Joe?
Who are they?
Accrington Stanley? Oh, mate. Fantastic team. Jez Raksaki and Rob Holding both started on the bench for Sheffield United. Raksaki came on in the 58th minute. Sheffield United, they lost 1-0 away at Oxford United. Jemiah Umulo, I don't know this guy. He was not part of the Port Vale squad. And Asher Agbioni he came off the bench. Get this, for Gillingham in the 92nd minute. What was the point of that? So there we go. A quick roundup of our loan players. And then other teams within the club. The ladies have not played since our last show. They play again on, it says here, Wednesday, 23rd of April. But in my match day programme, Nigel, it says the 20th of April. They've only got 4 games left, and their position is looking rather precarious at the bottom of the Women's Super League. But let's hope they can pull something out the bag. The under-21s on Friday evening, and I know some of you would have watched this because it was live on the Palace Player. They won 5-2 away at West Ham United. West Ham United were the best performing team in the league up to that point this year. It was 2-1 to West Ham on 80 minutes. That young lad, Kapora, we've already mentioned, he was playing right back. He scored the equalising goal, brilliant goal, to make it 2-2. And then Palace scored another 3 times in the next 17 minutes to make it 5-2. Incredible game of football. Mark Bright was getting very excited on the commentary. And then the under-18s on Saturday morning.
He's rubbish. He's rubbish on there.
I know. 1-2. You let me finish this. 1-2 away at West Brom. So good on them. Yeah. Let's not comment on Brighty, eh? Should we leave him alone? He was a much better footballer than he is a commentator. That's for sure.
Correct.
There we go. Right, let's have a look at some predictions. Jel, before we
just
move on
really
to
quickly, only because Don's put it up, and Jason is a friend of the show. Jason, who is known as Whyteleafe Eagle, and we're going local, and then you said local teams. So Whyteleafe have got through to the FA Vars final, which is an absolutely amazing stat. It's going to be a great day out, and it's at Wembley. Going to be brilliant. So yeah, well done, Don, for pulling that up. I follow Jay on social media, and I haven't seen him put anything up there. So he's been all Palace since yesterday.
There's been some good links between Palace and Whyteleafe down the years, I think. So good luck to them for sure. Right then, Nige, let's have a look at these. These are our last 5 league games, and we asked you back before the Fulham away game for predictions on the number of points, and here they are. So congratulations to Rob and Daniel for correctly predicting 13 points. Teresa, you're normally so bullish. You're always over it, shoot it, but you haven't this time. Those that did 12 and 11, you went far away. I said 10. Where are you, Paul? 9. Where are you, Jel? No idea. Nick, 8. Jel didn't guess, did you? I can't see Jel's name. But anyway, are we going to do this again, Nigel? Is that the general idea? Nigel, producer guy, is doing his nutting with me tonight. These are the upcoming fixtures. 5 of them are league games. So we want your predictions for this maximum of 15 points. So we have Manchester City away next Saturday lunchtime. That is live on TNT Sport. Paul, I'm going to come to you in a minute so you can tell us what's special about that game, even though you won't be in the ground. Then we go to Newcastle. This is the rearranged game from the weekend of their Carabao Cup final. Of course, we go to the Carabao Cup winners on Wednesday, the 16th of April. It's live on Sky Sports. And then the following Saturday, which is Easter Saturday, a 3 p.m. kickoff at home to Bournemouth in the Premier League. Before we have to go to the Emirates on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, also live on Sky, just 3 days before our FA Cup semi-final, which I think is pretty shocking. And then the final league game we're talking about here is Forest, which has been moved to a Monday night on Sky Sports, and it's only fair because we had to go there on a Monday night earlier in the season. So I'm interested in points that you think we're going to get from those 5 league games, and they're coming in thick and fast in the chat. So thank you to everyone. Tim Richards, forever the pessimist, 5 points, he says. Teresa says 11. Nick, what do you think from those 5 league games?
I'd never let it be said that I think that anything Tim Richards has ever said serves any purpose whatsoever. Okay, but I'm actually agreeing with him on 5 points. I reckon we'll get one win and 2 draws.
Oh my goodness me. Okay, Joe, what are you saying?
6 points, 3 draws, 1 win, 1 loss, and I think we'll beat Villa. No one said anything about that yet.
Yeah, we'll come to that. We'll come to the semi-final in a sec. Paul,
8 points.
8 points. I'm gonna go 10, Nigel. Put me down for 10. I'm going 3 wins and a draw, and we might lose one. I'm not sure which one at this stage, but I think we'll keep it going. Let's have a quick look let's talk about the semi-final very briefly. We are at an hour, so we mustn't go on for too much longer. But the semi-final, have we got that stuff I sent you earlier, Nige, with the pricing on it and all the rest of it? The Wembley Stadium plan. Have we got that?
Maybe. Looks like
Best laid plans and all that.
he's fallen asleep.
They're published, haven't they? The ticket prices for the semi-final. So the most expensive is 150, and the cheapest is 30 quid, right up in the gods. Interested in the chat? What are you going for? Have you given it any thought? Where do you want to sit at Wembley? Everyone that has a reference, a season ticket holder or a member, we think is going to be okay to get one of the 33,000 tickets that Crystal Palace have been allocated for this semi-final. Is being played on Saturday, the 10th. Okay, it's right. Saturday. When is it again? Saturday, the 26th of April at 5:15. The least said about when that was announced, the better. We won't mention that at all. Will we? No, we mustn't. Let's move on from that. But are we pleased that it's the Saturday at 5:15? Are we a bit pissed off that we're going to play Arsenal 3 days before? Nick?
No, I think it's the timing's fine. I would prefer the Saturday to the Sunday. For those that don't know, Grant Saunders is doing a boat. Okay, he's running a boat. Anybody that's interested, either contact me or contact Grant direct. But you will need to get your fingers out because he ain't got long to organise this one. If you want to do it this early part of this week. Send him your money. Send him your names. He's got to get those names onto the sailing manifest. And if he doesn't do it, there ain't going to be no boat. So up to you.
Goodness. I didn't know that was coming.
Did they really say, let's do a semi in style?
Well, if you want to come on his boat, you've got to get your name down.
What I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted by Captain Pugwash was it's a really early start. It's a 9:30 start. So you're going to have to be prepared for a very long day. But good luck to you. If you want to do the boat, Nick will be on it, being the DJ. Grant's organised it. The other thing Grant's doing is organising balloons. So if you want red and blue balloons to take to Wembley, to paint Wembley red and blue, you can apply to him and he can send them to you in the post.
Wear your shirts as well.
Wear your shirts. I will be for the match. I'm sorry I'm not wearing one tonight like you three people. That's good. Okay, so I've heard from Oliver Glasner that the players are getting 2 days off now. Tomorrow, or today, and tomorrow they're off. They're back on Tuesday morning. What's interesting about this Man City game, Paul? I mentioned it earlier. Do you know?
Yeah, it's going to be the first ever Premier League game with semi-automated offsides. So, they're bringing it in from the next match week, and obviously we've been moved to the lunchtime, so we're the first up. Yeah, and as you said, I'm flying off to Las Vegas on Wednesday, so I'm going to miss a rare game. So I shall hopefully try and see it on the screen. So I might see the semi-automated being shown on TV.
You have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. So have a great time in Vegas. You're missing not one but 2 games, I understand, which is very unusual. Yeah,
they annoyingly reorganised the Newcastle game before we went away, which was not part of the plan, but...
There we go. Good. All right. Well, look, I think we better leave it there, guys. Thank you, Nick, Jel, and Paul, for joining me this evening on this Red and Blue review. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back again next Sunday evening when Jel, I think, is in the chair on Sunday, the 13th of April. Good night, everyone, and thanks for joining.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.